The Empire had ruled the stars for centuries. Its fleets were vast, its officers disciplined, and its laws absolute. Every ship that entered Imperial space was registered, every species catalogued, and every action observed. To challenge the Empire was unthinkable, to surprise it was impossible, or so they thought. The human ship Starfare drifted through the outer rim of Imperial space like a curious butterfly. Its hull was scratched, its engines patched, and its crew laughing. Captain Mara Jensen leaned against the control panel, sipping something that smelled suspiciously like coffee, and watched the stars. She had a grin on her face, one that made her look entirely unconcerned with the possibility of interstellar doom. "Are we still on course for Imperial Sector 12? Her first officer, Lieutenant Ravi Khatri, asked, eyes wide as he studied the blinking holographic map. Myra nodded, her grin widening. "According to my calculations, yes. But if the Empire wants to play hide-and-seek, we'll just let them try." Ravi's hands hovered over the console. "Captain, I think they will. I've read the reports. The Empire does not tolerate unregistered vessels. They attack first, ask questions never." Mara laughed. "Then we'll have a chance to make a first impression." She pressed a few buttons and the ship's signal broadcasted a friendly chime across the comm network. "Hello, Empire, we come in peace and bring cookies." Ravi stared at her, mouth open. "Cookies, Captain, really?" "Everyone likes cookies," Mara said with a shrug. "Trust me, they'll love it." Before Ravi could protest further, the Starfire's sensors blared. A massive Imperial cruiser had appeared from hyperspace, its hull glinting coldly in the void. Hundreds of smaller escort ships surrounded it like a metallic swarm. The Empire had noticed, and it was not happy. "Open a channel," the cruiser's voice boomed, deep and formal. "Identify yourselves immediately. State your intentions in Imperial space." Mara leaned back casually. Greetings, I'm Captain Mara Jensen, and these are my colleagues. We're explorers from the planet Earth. We come in peace, and as I said, we have cookies. Anyone wants chocolate chip?" There was a long pause on the other side. A pause that stretched seconds into minutes. Then one officer's voice, tight with irritation, finally responded. "This is Admiral Kravos. You will cease your frivolous communication. State your identity and purpose with clarity and decorum." Mara grinned and tapped the console. "Decor, oh right, sorry, we're here to explore, see new worlds, meet new people, maybe make friends. Also, we're slightly lost. But that's part of the fun, right?" Admiral Kravos's fury was palpable even through the comm system. "You are ordered to submit to inspection. Prepare for docking at Imperial Station 12. Non-compliance will be met with force." Myra tilted her head, considering. "Force, huh? Well, let's hope they like cookies. We do have plenty on board." Before the Imperial fleet could react, the humans did something completely unexpected. The Starfare's crew burst into synchronized laughter, loud and infectious, echoing through their ship. They clapped hands, made faces, and even began a little improvised dance. It was chaotic, completely illogical, and utterly human. Ravi looked horrified. "Captain, what are you doing? This is what humans do," Myra interrupted with a smile. "They don't expect it. It makes them uncomfortable. Watch and learn, Lieutenant." Somewhere across the void, the Empire's sensors picked up the vibrations and noises. The Imperial officers were stunned. Their advanced minds, trained for battle, diplomacy, and logic, could not compute the audacity of a species that laughed in the face of intimidation. The Starfare's docking protocol had not even begun, yet the humans were already winning the psychological battle. The Empire had dealt with rebels, pirates, and alien threats, but none had behaved with such bizarre confidence. Admiral Kravos's voice was tight with barely contained rage. "You will cease this behavior at once. Failure to comply—" Mara waved a hand. "Oh, don't be so serious. It's bad for the heart." A little laughter never hurt anyone. She pressed another button, and a hologram appeared on the Imperial screens. A human performing a clumsy magic trick involving 3 cups and a small, blinking drone. The drone disappeared and reappeared under a cup, causing the human to grin triumphantly. "Explain this," Kravos demanded, voice shaking. Ravi muttered under his breath, "Captain, they're not going to understand this." "Exactly," Mara whispered. "Let them try. They'll have to engage with us on our level." The Empire, as it turned out, was remarkably bad at understanding humans. While they debated protocol, the Starfare crew moved quickly and efficiently. They patched a damaged Imperial scouting drone that had wandered too close, using tape, wire, and a little ingenuity. The drone beeped happily and began broadcasting messages back to the Imperial fleet. The officers were horrified. This species, chaotic and unpredictable, had fixed their technology while simultaneously mocking their authority. It was a contradiction that could not exist according to Imperial logic, yet it had happened. Mara leaned against the console, sipping her coffee again. See. Told you, humans are full of surprises. Over the next few hours, the humans continued to engage with the Empire in ways no one could anticipate. They attempted to imitate Imperial protocol, but added silly gestures, exaggerated bows, and humorous commentary. They asked absurd questions like, "Do you have a suggestion box for intergalactic complaints? And do you always wear uniforms, or is it casual Friday sometimes?" Some of the officers quietly chuckled. Others scowled, but no one could deny the humans' effectiveness. Every question, every joke, every seemingly random action served a purpose. The humans were observing, learning, and adapting faster than any Imperial strategist had predicted. Finally, after what felt like an eternity to Admiral Kravos, a junior officer whispered, "Sir, they're not afraid of us." Kravos' eyes narrowed. "They should be." "Maybe they are," the junior officer said, "but it's different. They're happy, and they're good at this." "Better than we expected." Mara from the Starfarer overheard none of this. She was too busy organizing a small welcome gift for the Empire, a tray of chocolate chip cookies carefully arranged with a note that read, "Peace, laughter, and maybe some diplomacy. Please enjoy." As the Imperial fleet slowly realized that the humans posed no immediate threat, tension mixed with confusion. No one had anticipated that a species could be so bold, so unafraid, and so unconventionally brilliant. Every action the humans took, laughing, joking, improvising, was a demonstration of an intelligence the Empire could not suppress or fully understand. Ravi finally shook his head in disbelief. "Captain, I can't believe this is working. They're supposed to be the Empire." "They should be scary," Mara smiled. "That's the thing about humans, Lieutenant. We're not always scary. Sometimes we're just unpredictable, and that makes us strong." As the Starfarer drifted closer to the docking station, the Empire's officers debated endlessly on protocol. But the humans were already 2 steps ahead, calmly enjoying their cookies, laughing at jokes only they understood, and quietly preparing for whatever the Empire might throw at them next. Somewhere deep in the Empire's command center, Admiral Kravos slammed a fist on the table. "They are not normal, they are impossible." And somewhere in the Starfarer's mess hall, Myra raised her coffee cup and laughed. "Impossible is our favorite word." The first contact between humans and the Empire had been chaotic, humorous, and entirely unorthodox. But one thing was clear. The humans had made an impression, not the kind that scared the Empire into submission. No, the kind that made the Empire wonder if it had ever really understood what power could look like. And as the stars stretched endlessly beyond the ship's hull, the humans continued to laugh, to joke, and to survive in a way no one, not even the mighty Empire, had expected. The Imperial docking bay was vast and silent, designed for precision and control. Rows of ships gleamed under the cold lights, every surface spotless, every officer moving with mechanical efficiency. The humans walked in as if they owned the place, chatting, laughing, and occasionally waving at guards. Captain Mara Jensen led the way, holding a small tray of cookies. Her grin had not faded. If anything, it had grown wider. Lieutenant Ravi Khatri followed, notebook in hand, trying to record every action without drawing attention, an almost impossible task. "Remember, Lieutenant," Mara whispered, "this is diplomacy, human style. We smile, we joke, we improvise, and we survive, you'll see." Ravi swallowed nervously. The Empire did not tolerate mistakes, improvisation, or, as far as he knew, humor. Yet here they were, surrounded by officers who expected fear and compliance, and getting neither. The docking bay commander, a tall, rigid woman with an expression permanently set to annoyance, stepped forward. "Captain Jensen," she said, voice clipped. "You are to report immediately to the Imperial Administration Office. Any deviation will be considered an act of aggression." Mara tilted her head, smiling. "Report? Oh, of course. Right after we finish our cookies. You wouldn't mind, would you?" She offered the tray. The commander stared. Silence stretched for a heartbeat, then two. One of the younger officers muttered under her breath, "Do they always do this?" The commander snapped. "Except the cookies, or—" Mara interrupted, bowing dramatically. "Thank you, such hospitality." Humans are learning the Imperial way already. She placed the tray carefully on the officer's desk. "Now shall we talk?" The officers could not process it. They were used to fear, obedience, and rigid protocol. Instead, they were faced with absurd politeness, humor, and utter unpredictability. The humans' laughter was not just noise, it was a statement. They were alive, confident, and untouchable by intimidation alone. The humans were escorted to the administration office, a large chamber filled with officers reviewing reports, consoles blinking with incoming data, and holograms of Imperial holdings floating above. The air was tense, every officer aware that these humans were anomalies. "Sit," the lead administrator ordered, pointing to a row of chairs. Myra sat cross-legged, much to the horror of everyone present. "Comfortable? Good. So let's talk about how we can make friends." The officers blinked. One of them whispered to another, "Do they not understand formality?" "Formality is boring," Myra replied to the whispered comment as if she had heard it. "Let's get to the interesting stuff." The discussion that followed was anything but ordinary. The Empire had intended to interrogate, to test, to assert authority. Instead, the humans asked questions that made officers stumble. "Do you enjoy work here? What's the most unusual law you've ever enforced? Do you have snacks in your mess hall?" Each question seemed trivial, yet humans asked them with genuine curiosity. Admiral Kravos watched from a nearby viewing room, arms crossed, jaw tight. "They are impossible," he muttered. "Impossible and unsettling." Meanwhile, the humans began observing the technology in the office. Instead of hacking or breaking into systems, they interacted with it creatively. One officer demonstrated a data interface, expecting obedience. Mara leaned over, pressed a sequence of buttons at random, and suddenly the system displayed optimized schedules for the docking bay, schedules no officer had considered. "It's faster this way," Mara said, smiling. "Less waiting, more efficiency." The officers stared. They had never seen anyone improve their systems with what seemed like chaotic guesses, yet the results were real, tangible, and undeniably better. Ravi scribbled frantically in his notebook. "Captain, they're impressed, or scared, or both." "Exactly," Mara whispered. "Humans can turn chaos into opportunity." As the day progressed, the humans were escorted on a tour of Imperial Station 12. They observed the administrative systems, the training bays, and the armory. Everywhere they went, they laughed at minor mishaps, improvised fixes for small problems, and asked questions that seemed silly but exposed overlooked flaws. In the armory, Mara picked up a standard-issue blaster. "Ergonomic but could use a cup holder," she said, adjusting it slightly. "Or maybe a built-in snack compartment, for long missions." The supervising officer nearly choked. We don't snacks." "Exactly," Mara interrupted. "That's why it's an improvement." "Humans always think about snacks," Ravi groaned quietly. "Captain, please don't mention snacks again, they might." "Relax," Mara said. "It's diplomacy, and a little fun makes people listen." By the afternoon, the humans had become an enigma. Officers who had expected fear, compliance, or panic were now caught between frustration and admiration. No one had ever handled the Empire with such cheerful audacity. Then, a security alert rang through the station. A small rogue fleet had appeared near the edge of the sector, unregistered and armed. Protocol demanded immediate deployment of Imperial forces. Humans, Mara insisted, should be involved. "They need our perspective," she said, brushing back her hair. "Plus, we might have a few ideas." Admiral Kravos, observing from the control room, nearly shouted. "Ideas? They are not trained for battle." "That's the point," Mara said, eyes gleaming. "Humans think differently. Watch and learn, Admiral." The humans were led to the tactical control room, where officers were already issuing commands. Mara studied the screens, nodding. Then she began suggesting unconventional strategies, feints, deceptive formations, and even small, absurd-seeming maneuvers that leveraged the humans' unpredictability. Ravi whispered, "Captain, that's unorthodox. They might succeed," Mara said calmly. "Trust me." Humans always find a way. As the rogue fleet engaged, the humans' strategies unfolded perfectly. Their suggestions seemed reckless, sending ships on unexpected paths, using decoy signals, and even a playful holographic display meant to confuse the enemy. Yet it worked. The rogue fleet became disorganized, its attacks faltering, and Imperial forces gained the upper hand. Officers stared in disbelief. Mara and her crew were winning a battle without firing a single shot themselves, simply by thinking differently. Admiral Kravo's hands clenched, muttered, "Impossible, how can they?" Ravi smiled faintly. "That's humans, sir, chaos and creativity." After the skirmish, the humans were praised reluctantly by the Empire. They had not only helped defend the sector, but had done so in a way that no officer had anticipated. Their laughter, their absurd questions, and their improvisation had proven to be a form of brilliance that the Empire could not ignore. Later, back on the Starfire, Mara served tea to her crew. "Well," she said, stretching, "that went better than I expected." Ravi shook his head. "Captain, you're unbelievable. They were going to destroy us, or at least reprimand us heavily. Instead, they listened. They followed our ideas." "Exactly," Mara said. "Humans aren't just strong or smart. We adapt, we improvise, we laugh at danger and find solutions others can't see." A message came through from Imperial Command. It was short, formal, and surprisingly courteous. "Captain Jensen and crew, your contributions today are noted. Further cooperation is authorized. Caution, your methods remain unusual." Mara laughed. "See, unusual is our middle name." As the Starfire floated in orbit above the station, the humans reflected on the day's events. They had not only survived, but had changed the Empire's perception of them. The officers who had been rigid, unyielding, and suspicious were now wary and fascinated. Ravi asked, "Do you think they'll ever understand us?" Mara shook her head. "No, and that's why we're strong. They can try to study humans to analyze us, but we're not predictable. We don't fit their rules, and that makes us remarkable." The stars outside shimmered like distant diamonds, vast and endless. The humans laughed softly, thinking of the next steps, the next encounters, and the endless possibilities ahead. For the Empire, today had been a lesson in humility, creativity, and the strange power of laughter. And for the humans, it was just another day, one filled with humor, ingenuity, and the quiet knowledge that no matter how vast the Empire, they could always find a way. The galaxy was changing, one laugh at a time, and the humans at the center of it were just getting started. The calm that had settled over Imperial Station 12 did not last long. Early that morning, alarms blared across the docks and command centers. A massive fleet of warlike aliens had appeared near the sector's borders, moving with precision and intent. Their ships were heavily armed, their numbers overwhelming. The Empire's officers, disciplined and experienced, felt a cold tension settle in their chests. This was not a skirmish, it was a full-scale threat. Captain Mara Jensen, sipping her morning tea aboard the Starfire, smiled faintly. "Looks like we have guests," she said to Lieutenant Ravi Khatri. Ravi's eyes widened. "Captain, this is serious. They could destroy the station." "They could destroy the fleet. We're talking about thousands of ships." "Exactly," Mara replied, "and that's why humans are perfect for this job. Let's show them how we do things." The humans were quickly escorted to the tactical command center. Imperial officers, still wary of their previous antics, glared but said nothing. The humans did not flinch. They surveyed the holographic displays, noting fleet positions, defensive gaps, and supply lines. Their approach was completely different from the Empire's rigid strategies. Mara gestured to the display. "Here, that's what we do. They expect a traditional defense. We won't give it to them. We'll mix misdirection, clever traps, and a little human chaos." An officer whispered, "Chaos? This is war, not a game." "Exactly," Mara said with a grin, "and humans are best at turning games into victories." The plan was simple in concept, but complicated in execution. Mara suggested dividing the fleet into small, unexpected formations, using decoy signals to confuse the enemy sensors. Some ships would act as bait, appearing vulnerable while carrying hidden surprises. Others would create optical illusions in space using reflective materials and holographic projections. Imperial officers were skeptical. One said, "Captain Jensen, your ideas are unconventional. They might fail catastrophically." Mara shrugged. "And if they do, at least we'll do it with style. Now, let's get to work." Within the hour, the humans had coordinated with the Imperial fleet, blending their unconventional methods with disciplined maneuvers. As the alien fleet advanced, the humans activated their first move, a decoy convoy that glowed with false energy signatures. Sensors picked it up immediately, and the alien forces adjusted their attack to target the vulnerable ships. Ravi watched, jaw tense. "Captain, they're taking the bait." Mara nodded, her grin widening. "Patience. Humans always plan 5 moves ahead. Watch the next step." As predicted, the aliens focused on the decoys, leaving the main Imperial fleet exposed in a way the humans had calculated. Hidden human-modified drones deployed from the Starfare and other ships, emitting disorienting signals that jammed enemy targeting systems. The aliens fired blindly, their formations breaking down under pressure. An Imperial officer muttered, "I don't understand." "They're laughing at our defenses." Mara's laughter echoed through the comm system. "Not laughing at defenses, laughing at predictability. Humans turned predictability into opportunity." The next phase of the plan involved human ingenuity and improvisation on a massive scale. Mara's team rigged smaller ships with holographic emitters that created dozens of false fleets, giving the impression that Imperial numbers were far greater than reality. Alien sensors struggled to distinguish real targets from illusions, causing confusion and hesitation. Amid the chaos, Mara suggested an audacious move, a direct but unconventional strike at the alien fleet's command ship using a formation that mimicked a harmless supply convoy. The aliens, convinced it was a non-threatening target, opened their defenses just enough for the human-led strike to succeed. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Ravi asked, worry etched on his face. "Absolutely," Mara said. "It's human thinking, bold, unexpected, and yes, slightly ridiculous, but it works." The strike was flawless. The alien command ship was disabled, throwing the enemy fleet into disarray. Without central leadership, their coordinated attacks collapsed, leaving them vulnerable to Imperial counterattacks. The humans guided the fleet through a series of calculated maneuvers, maximizing efficiency while minimizing losses. For hours, the battle raged. The humans never lost their composure, laughing lightly at absurd moments, cracking small jokes, and improvising solutions whenever a new challenge arose. Imperial officers, initially skeptical, began to notice a remarkable truth. The humans were not reckless. Their creativity and humor were weapons as effective as any blaster or fleet formation. By the time the battle ended, the alien fleet had been forced to retreat. Imperial losses were minimal, thanks in large part to the humans' unconventional strategies. For the first time in centuries, Imperial officers had witnessed victory not through strict discipline alone, but through ingenuity, unpredictability, and courage. Admiral Kravos, standing in the observation deck, rubbed his temples. They saved the station. And they did it laughing. A junior officer whispered, "Sir, we might need to rethink everything we know about humans." Myra returned to the Starfare, sipping tea calmly as though the battle had been a casual exercise. Ravi followed, still wide-eyed. "Captain, you just led the humans to victory, against overwhelming odds, and they listened to our commands," Mara smiled. "We didn't just lead, we adapted, we observed, and we turned chaos into advantage. That's what humans do. We're clever, flexible, and unafraid of what others consider impossible." Ravi shook his head. "They'll remember this, the Empire, they'll respect humans now." "Respect," Myra laughed softly. "They'll do more than that. They'll study humans, wonder about us, maybe even try to imitate us, but they won't understand, and that is our strength." Back in the Imperial Command Center, officers debated the day's events. Some were still stunned by the humans' effectiveness. Others admitted, quietly and reluctantly, that humans had taught them a lesson in strategy and creativity. The Empire's rigid protocols had been challenged, not by brute force, but by intelligence, humor, and courage. Mara, ever observant, noticed the subtle signs. Officers who had once glared at her crew now nodded with respect. Some even smiled faintly at jokes they didn't entirely understand. Humans had not only won a battle, they had reshaped perception. Later, the Starfare floated peacefully above the station. The crew gathered to reflect on the day. Mara handed Ravi a small cookie from the tray she kept at hand. "Celebrate small victories," she said. Ravi chuckled. "I think the Empire might be scared of us now." "Scared," Mara said, taking a bite of her cookie. "No, curious, respectful, but yes, a little scared. Humans are not predictable, and that makes us powerful." As night fell across the sector, the Starfare drifted among the stars. Mara gazed at the distant lights, thinking about the future. There were countless challenges ahead, unknown civilizations, unpredictable dangers, and mysteries yet to be discovered. Yet she knew one truth: humans would face them all with courage, laughter, and ingenuity. Somewhere on the Imperial fleet, officers still whispered about the humans. "Impossible," one said. "Incredible, unpredictable, brilliant." The humans aboard the Starfare, oblivious to whispers and speculation, laughed softly at a joke only they understood. They had won battles, earned respect, and proven that human creativity and adaptability were forces no empire could ignore. And as they sailed onward through the endless galaxy, Captain Mara Jensen smiled. The universe was vast, full of dangers and wonders, but humans, unpredictable, clever, and fearless, would face it all. They would laugh in the face of adversity, turn chaos into victory, and leave a mark on the stars that no empire, alien threat, or force could erase. The Empire had met humans, they had underestimated them, and in return, humans had done what they did best: survive, adapt, and thrive, with laughter as their armor and ingenuity as their sword. The galaxy would never be the same.